Welcome to LabMinutes.com. In this video, we will introduce you to Cisco Nexus 1000V switch. So most of you who has been using VMware are probably already familiar with the vSwitch that's provide connectivity to the outside network. Then you would know that the main problem with the vSwitch in the large deployment is to keep the VLAN configuration synchronized across multiple ESXi servers, which is very essential to features like vMotion. This problem is somewhat resolved in the distributed vSwitch by keeping the configuration centralized in the VMware vCenter. However, this means that the configuration still needs to be made on the vCenter, which is usually managed by the server team. With the Nexus 1000V, you will have the same benefit as the distributed vSwitch since it's essentially what it is to the vCenter. And at the same time, you have all the features that you normally find in a Cisco switch, such as access control list, monitor sessions, QoS, and LACP. And these features can be applied directly at the VM level. In addition, you as a network admin will be able to manage these switches just like any other Cisco switch on your network through the CLI, and even have some visibility to the VM environment such as the location of the VM, which can assist you in troubleshooting. The Nexus 1000V is built from two main components, the Virtual Supervisor module, or VSM, and the Virtual Ethernet module, or VEM. VSM is like any other supervisor that you can find on a Cisco chassis-based switch, and what Supervisor does to provide the intelligence to the switch and also access the single management point. VM, on the other hand, is just a line card. A pair of redundant VSM can manage up to 64 VM, so logically this is equivalent to a chassis switch with 64 line cards in it, so it's a pretty big switch. VSM has three interfaces: control, management, and packet. And whether or not all these interfaces are used depends on the mode of operation when you set up the VSM, and this is being layer 2 or layer 3. And we will discuss more about this in the specific lab videos later. So VSM comes in two flavors. It can be like a VM that you install in your existing VMware environment, or it can be a virtual services appliance or VSA on a dedicated Cisco Nexus 1010 or 1100 appliance or server. So between the two form factor, the only difference is the installation process, but once you get them up and running, the configuration and concepts remain identical. All of the configuration needs to be made on the VSM since it's a single management point, and the VSM will pushes those config to the vCenter. And what this means is the network admin can now take responsibility of the switch configuration, and this configuration can be presented to the vCenter in the form of port groups, where the server admin can just assign them to a VM, like the traditional port groups in the vSwitch. So you can see the tight integration between the VSM and the vCenter. So VM also need to maintain constant connectivity to the VSM, not only to continue receiving config updates, but to forward certain packets they receive from the upstream switch, but cannot process it, such as the LACP packet, to the VSM for further processing. Although all VM should be placed behind VEM, to leverage the full features of the Nexus 1000V, some people still actually feel more comfortable placing critical services such as the vCenter or the VM kernels used for management and network boots behind the traditional vSwitch. This is just to avoid any possible issue with VM cannot connect to the VSM fast enough when they first come up and not forward traffic. But actually there's a concept of system VLAN that kind of addresses this concern. The purpose of system VLAN is for VM to forward traffic on those VLAN regardless of its connection state to VSM. So it is very important that you configure the VLAN these critical services are on as a system VLAN. There are actually much more to this when it comes to setting up Nexus 1000V, and some of them are discussed in the blog article about different deployment options on our website, and I will post the link down below. So hopefully this will give you enough information to continue with our Nexus 1000V labs. Thank you for watching LabMinutes.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video.